chainers, wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I am super excited to be back in my home studio after an amazing week in California at the IANA Expo conference. I hope you were able to see some of our interviews that they put out on social media. If you haven't gone to see it, go to their LinkedIn page. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, the Blended podcast, and also the Blended Pledge. Now, before we get started, let's hear from our sponsors. So say you're at work and all the lights flicker and then go out. You try to move and bump into something, you turn and bump into something else. You just can't work like this. You need to be able to see what's happening. And this is exactly how your inventory feels. Fastenal has unique inventory solutions that sends data to the cloud and helps you avoid stockouts while not carrying excess inventory. Don't stay in the dark. Let Fastenal shine a light on the parts and supplies that keep your businesses running. Go to fastenal.com/LTSC to see how they do it. All right, we have a lot to get to and a really exciting episode. I've got Matthias from DPW here to talk all about their upcoming event, which I am emceeing the virtual side, and I am so excited. But first, let's talk about what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we've got a brand new episode. It's episode 360, delivering a great trucker experience with DCLI. Now, you don't want to miss this. I don't know if you missed DCLI on Thoughts and Coffee probably about a month or so ago, but there is a lot going on in the chassis space, and DCLI is really pouring in investment for a great trucker experience. So you're not going to want to miss this episode. Go and check it out wherever you listen to the podcast. And we've got a lot of live events coming up. So Thursday, I am going live with Go Freight, and we're talking about the mastering digital transformation in freight forwarding, unleashing SMBs for competitive dominance with Go Freight. Now, you're not going to want to miss this episode because we're talking all about logistics, but not just logistics, digital transformation in logistics. So go and click the attend button. If you cannot attend live, that's fine. Click the attend button anyways, and I'm going to be sending you the recording so you don't miss out. Friday, we've got a brand new No Bullshipping with Hope White. They're talking about transportation success in today's economy. So go and click the attend button for that. And then next Thursday, I am going live talking about navigating supply chain digitization with Jonas from Logword and Helge from Covestro. Now, you're not going to want to miss this because we're always talking about supply chain digitization, but they are going to be giving you the tea. We are going to be talking about everything, the good, the bad, the ugly around digitization. We might be throwing some stuff in about AI as well. So again, go click the attend button. I'll send you the recording if you cannot join live. What else happened yesterday? Well, the Women in Supply Chain Awards came out yesterday. Congratulations to all the winners. There was 400 submissions, the highest amount of applications for this award. Let's Talk Supply Chain and the Blended Pledge. We are super excited to be presenting sponsors at the Women in Supply Chain Forum at this year's event in November. So congratulations to all the winners, and I can't wait to see you all in November. What else is happening? So the Secret Society of Supply Chain has officially launched. The Supply Chainers group is in full swing. That's exclusive content that you can't find anywhere else. Plus, you're going to be able to network online. We also have our Woman in Supply Chain monthly meetup group. And this afternoon, we are going live with a Q&A session at 4 p.m. Eastern. So in the comments right now, we're giving you the registration link to register for that. If you have any questions about joining our monthly meetup for our Women in Supply Chain, go and check that out either today at 4 p.m. Eastern, or Katie Date's doing one, I think, on Thursday at 6 or 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Both of those registration links are in the comments right now. So go and check that out. We will answer any questions that you have, but we are 50% sold out and we're going to be launching our first group very, very soon. We want you to be a part of it. All right. Last but not least, last week I came out with a brand new not episode, a brand new newsletter for my monthly hustle that comes out, and it talks about being real, how to be authentic, and so much more. So go and check that out because the link is in the comments. Boy, did I tell you we had a lot to share with you. But without further ado, let's bring up Matthias. Matthias, hello, how are you?
Hey, Sarah, I'm great. Thanks for having me, and yeah, greetings from Amsterdam.
Yeah, how's everything going in Europe? Why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Matthias Gutzmann. You may recognize I'm German, but I live in Amsterdam. That's where I launched DPW, Digital Procurement World. Yeah, I'm the founder of DPW, and I started off as a conference 2019, really with the idea to bring a few startup founders together and connect them with large organizations, really helping them transform digitally. So I'm I guess the startup, the tech guy in procurement. Today we are more than a conference. We advise, we consult on digital transformation. We run a young talent community. We run demo, a startup competition in procurement. And more and more, we're also tapping into supply chains. So yeah, excited. And we have a conference coming up in 3 weeks with Sarah as the MC of the virtual live stream, as she said. So super excited.
Yeah, I can't wait. And we're going to be talking more about that because you have so many exciting things at this event. I mean, I can't wait to be there. I mean, first of all, it's in Amsterdam, one of my favorite places to be. But before we dive into that, let's get to our poll of the week. So the question last week that we asked you, has remote work become a permanent part of your supply chain operations post-pandemic? Now, if you didn't... if you weren't part of this poll, definitely put your comments in the comments because we'd love to hear from you. We had over 515 votes. And to me, that means that everybody is still talking about, thinking about remote work. So 52% of you said yes, partially remote, which is what I'm hearing, right? I'm hearing more and more about hybrid. And then we had a tie. 24% said yes, fully remote, and 24% said no, back to the office. I'm a little surprised at that 24%. That's a lot of people going back into the office full time. Matthias, what do you think about this? And is this something that you are talking about over in Europe? Are people hybrid? Are they fully remote? Are they back to the office? What are you seeing?
I mean, talking about my own company, DPW, yeah, I mean, we are back in the office, but we allow everyone to work remotely and virtually, really. But obviously, that's not comparable with the organizations you surveyed. But I think also when you grow a startup, right, you want to have some of your core team members on site, right, to build the values, to build the spirit of the company. But look, as in supply chain organizations, I'm more focused on procurement organizations, but around supply chain organizations, I can imagine that there is depending on the industry, the type of company, there are a lot of operational workers, frontline workers, I call them, that probably have to be somewhere on site. But I think it really depends on the industry. But I believe that I guess technology can change all of that. I mean, it's kind of changing industries, operating business models, right? So maybe in the future there will be, for maybe even in the heavy manufacturing industries, you probably see more virtual jobs coming through, and also more collaboration internally and externally. Internally between the on-site workers, the on-site staff with virtual employees. So I think there is a trend of maybe offering more flexibility on that, more empathy from the employers to allow that. But I can still imagine that I mean, to get the operations run, you need to be on site in some types of jobs and roles where it's really, there's no option maybe to work virtually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, right? I mean, warehousing, you obviously have to be on site if you're picking inventory, unless you have automation. Our team is fully remote, our operations team, but again, we're not dealing with necessarily supply chain. We're dealing with the rollout of, digital content and things like that. So I think you're right. It really depends on the job. It depends on what needs to be done. I think it's also being used as an incentive. Right? Before it was like, we need to negotiate for 3 or 4 weeks vacation, maybe not in Europe, but here in North America. And now it's, how do we negotiate maybe a hybrid option or a fully remote option so that we're able to, live our lives as well, depending on some of the demands that we have, which do vary by person as well. We had 2 comments on this poll. Kara Poor and Mark Bibich, they both said that they never missed a day in the office throughout. They never transitioned to remote, and they went into work every single day. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thanks so much to everybody who participated in the poll. It's really great to see where everybody's at as far as remote work, hybrid, back in the office, and that kind of thing. So, Matthias, give us a bit of a market update. What's happening in procurement in Europe? What are some of the hot topics that people are talking about? I'm sure you, excuse me, you have the pulse, you have your finger on the pulse of that because you've got this event coming up, and you wanted to get the content right? You wanted to make sure you had the topics that people wanted to learn about and hear more about. So what are some of the really hot topics that you're hearing about in procurement right now that people are talking about?
Yeah, I mean, we're not running our own internal service yet at DPW, but that's in the making. So, we need to also create our own data. So next year we're launching a big blockbuster survey, and those results are going to be presented at the conference. But of course, we talk every day to CPOs, right, and their teams, and we know what their challenges are. I mean, tech, right? I mean, digital transformation is a key, is top priority for most organizations. And when I founded DPW 2019, you still had these deniers saying, well,
2019, they were in denial.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, well, and I think, they still thought like, okay, well, let's see what happens, and I don't need to transform digitally. But I think everyone is really now on this journey of digital transformation, and so technology and digital transformation is a key challenge, and the conference is themed around make tech work. And what we've seen is that a lot of transformations fail basically, and it's difficult, it's messy, it's difficult, it involves people, and if there's something probably what it's not fundamentally about is technology. So it's really bringing the team together, envisioning the team. It's about questioning how you operate today and how you can build the future with technology, but ultimately also to drive performance, right? And not just being digital for the sake of being digital, but really to drive outcomes for the business. So, I mean, digital transformation is a big topic. When we think about procurement as a value driver for the business, of course, sustainability is becoming a key role for procurement. And you see, CPOs taking on that hybrid role of chief sustainability officer. I just spoke to the head of procurement with the focus on ESG from CBRE. So you see more, procurement taking over that responsibility, which is exciting. Supplier collaboration is a big, also, not a new value proposition, but really bringing the outside in. I mean, and I guess, solving the business needs by, matchmaking those needs with the capabilities from the outside world, the suppliers or the future suppliers, the startups. So I think these are, the bigger ambitions that we see coming through diversity. Cost is always, the bread and butter, I guess, of procurement. But I think procurement is really now focusing on more driving value to the business agenda as opposed to the procurement agenda only, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting to hear that you're saying that procurement is taking such a big role in sustainability. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show as well. But they're now playing that dual role. And while you were mentioning that, I was thinking about some of the, chief procurement officers that I know. And you're right. They're taking on that sustainability component, but in a variety of ways. Some of it is around the environment and carbon emissions and things like that. Some of it is around diversity and inclusion, and playing a big role in that. And how do we use procurement to be able to drive some of those outcomes as well? So it would be really interesting to talk to some of those CPOs and really find out, how do you feel about playing both of those roles? Because the CPO on its own is a big task, let alone, trying to bring that sustainability component and sort of wearing those two hats. So I can't wait. And we're going to learn more about the event in just a minute. But let's get to our first article. So this is actually on Instagram. It's not necessarily an article, but I could not do Thoughts and Coffee without talking about Sriracha. I don't know if any of you have noticed, but Sriracha has been sold out on shelves everywhere since last year. And I've kind of been wondering what's been happening. And so I jumped on this when I saw this on Instagram. I usually go to Trader Joe's. They have this like coconut milk Sriracha, which I really, really like, but I have not been able to find it forever. And some people are actually taking advantage of this. And on eBay, a bottle of Sriracha is going for $20 to $150 a bottle. I mean, I don't know anybody who loves Sriracha that much, but apparently there's some people out there that do. But really, the heart of this particular story is the sourcing of peppers. So the peppers are usually sourced out of Mexico and the US, and I'm just going to go through this. They're usually sourced from Mexico and the US, but right now we have a pepper shortage. We have a pepper shortage, we have a water shortage, and that is what has been contributing to the Sriracha shortage. And one of the other things that they do talk about in this as well is that it is a lack of a strong supply chain, and that it could take years for them to actually recover from this and build the strong supply chain that they need, so we don't have a Sriracha shortage again. Now, Matthias, I know that you're in procurement and we're talking about sourcing and supply chain. But what do you think about this? I don't know if Sriracha is your jam or not, but are you seeing, empty shelves in Europe just like we are?
Yeah, I probably don't go out a lot and shop really. I mean, it's not that I have someone doing this for me, but I'm currently very focused on growing DPW. So I think really I don't have the best view of what's going on outside. But I mean, the semiconductor industry, I think, is an example that people talk about right now, and there's been a shortage of that, and bring this from Taiwan also maybe back into the country somehow. I think is an ambition, but the classical example of toilet paper during the pandemic,
Yep.
obviously that's something I realized myself. But yeah, no, I think it's crazy, right? And even that one ship in the Suez Canal can stop entire world around supply chain. No, I mean, I didn't hear about that sauce, but yeah, it's crazy, and ultimately it's the consumer, who's probably the one who's faced the truth on that. But yeah, no, crazy.
Yeah. And, I think it really goes to show. So, part of what this Instagram post also talks about is that, yes, it's a lack of a strong supply chain, but it's also due to climate change. That's what has been um, ultimately hurting and being part of the pepper shortage, the water shortage. So a lot of the water that they use to be able to grow the peppers comes from the Colorado River, and the pepper shortage is because of also that drought where the water is not coming through and they're not able to obviously grow the peppers that they need for Sriracha. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword here, in the fact that it is a climate change issue, but it's also a lack of a strong supply chain. And so that's what I wanted to bring it up. Berkeley does say that the company may have had a supplier dispute as well, which could come down to procurement. And procurement would have had to basically, mitigate that negotiation and that dispute as well. All right, let's get into what is happening at Digital Procurement World. All right, so let's talk about this event. Now, your theme is Make Tech Work. Now, talk to us about this. Who is going? Are there even tickets left? Can people get involved? I know there's a virtual side of this event because I'm going to be emceeing it. Who is going? What are we going to hear about? Give us all the details.
Yeah, great. Yeah, Make Tech Work is the theme, and it's really again based on what we believe is the need to bring digital to life, and there has been a struggle for that. When we ever speak in context of digital, we've seen companies making investment, not driving an ROI from those investments. So Make Tech Work really is focusing on the three natural phases of digital transformation as we see them. So it's an initiation phase. So how to really get started with digital transformation, how to set up your digital program for success. This is all about building the right governance model, right? Onboarding your team, envisioning your team. And then the second phase, probably the biggest phase where the most wins and losses are made, is the execution phase of digital transformation. This is all about building and integrating technologies and building, bringing new startup innovation technologies and integrating them with what's there already, the legacy processes and products. And then the scaling phase is really around thinking about new operating models for procurement and really embedding digital into the DNA of your procurement organization. So maybe not thinking about digital procurement, but procurement in a digital world in the future, right? And and these are the three natural phases, and that's what we're talking about. So there's a little bit for everyone, I would say. Someone who's just getting started, but also the more mature organization that are already on that journey for a while.
Yeah, and you've got some really great speakers here, right? You've got speakers from Dyson, MIT, Volvo, BP, Kraft Heinz. I mean, you have got some major players coming to this particular event. And I know from a virtual standpoint, we're going to be able to take some of those speakers from the stage. Obviously, not all of them, because you've got a lot of great information that's going to be coming out. But we're going to be taking some of those speakers and we're going to be putting them in the virtual hot seat and talking to them about giving us key insights into, what they shared with the audience. I mean, you have to be there in person to get the whole experience, but we're going to be able to get some of those nuggets, those key insights from some of those speakers and share those virtually as well. So the virtual side is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some trivia. We're going to have some interviews. We're going to have an on-site reporter as well. So it's kind of going to be one of those sports broadcast moments, which I'm really excited about. I think that it's going to be great. How can people sign up for the virtual? What can they expect? Talk to us about the virtual side.
Yeah, I mean, the virtual side, you're the host, which is exciting. The virtual live stream is showcasing all the presentations from the main stage, or what we call center stage, from morning to afternoon time, Central European time. And then there are dedicated in-studio interviews with you. Some of them may be the keynote speakers who, after the keynote, walk into your studio for a follow-up Q&A session, or we have, for example, the CPO of BP having an interview with you. We have the head of procurement supply chain from Heineken talking about their net zero journey together with you. But we also have a few startup founders talking to you. So it's really an investment that we made. It's really not just a live stream. It's really a proper studio on-site experience addressing the virtual audience. So yeah, I mean, we're making big investments into those type of new experiences. But and maybe one thing which is we also run the demo startup competition, the grand finale, on day 2. So that's always the big highlight of the conference, and that's another great thing for people to really see, the latest technologies. It will be a quick fire of presentations, including Q&A with the judges. So it's really a mix of formats, of sessions, of speakers as well. And what you said earlier is actually super important. Not for DPW, but I think as a whole, that we need to bring in the CEOs, the CIOs, the former chief dish officer of McDonald's onto the big stages in procurement as well. Because, I mean, I always say, like, if we want to, procurement's responsibility or ambition is to really, drive the end-to-end ecosystem, then we also need to bring the end-to-end ecosystem together, and that's beyond procurement and supply chain. And that's always been my ambition to, to bring the business onto the stage, the stakeholders of procurement, and the academia from MIT, the startup founders, the practitioners. So, I think that's really how I see, progressive communities in procurement and today really, run.
Yeah, well, and it's interactive. So while you're watching these sessions, make sure that you write down your questions if you're virtual, because then you can send those questions in and we'll be able to ask some of those questions as well. You're going to have access to some of the people that you may not ever have access to before. So make sure to get involved, make sure to submit some questions, and we're going to make it as interactive as possible. And I cannot wait to see everybody there. All right, last but not least, we've got an article about procurement and how they can change and reduce supplier emissions. Now, this is something that I talk to Frances Edmonds of HP Canada all the time. She is a very big proponent of how procurement can really drive sustainability initiatives. And Matthias, you talked about that, right? They're kind of wearing two hats right now. One of the people mentioned in this particular article talks about how if we speak to 1,000 suppliers and they speak to 1,000 suppliers, we can really make the change happen quicker. I mean, think about it, right? It just multiplies, and having those discussions really is going to reduce some of those supplier emissions. One of them says 80% of their carbon emissions do come from their supply chains, and procurement can be the leader because there's a few reasons why sustainability is not necessarily something that's easily come by in organizations. So before I go into that, Matthias, what did you think about this article? Do you have anything to, share with us?
Yeah, no, I mean, sustainability. Yeah, no, it's great, and it's our topic, and my conference cannot not discuss the sustainability topic. Last year, we had the chief sustainability officer, for example, from Henkel, talking about that. No, I mean, 80% of those supply chain or emissions are sitting in the supply chain. And that's why I believe that also 80% of the solutions are in our hands, right? As procurement and supply chain. So I believe technology plays a key role in that. The conference, is showcasing some of the top startups in the ESG space. I believe that the topic of collaboration is extremely important, to collaborate with your suppliers, to really understand also their goals. So I think it's a collaboration game between the buyer and the supplier, but also really, technology again, to drive transparency, right? And to scale those programs. But no, it's an exciting space. It's just a big elephant to tame. And, somehow I think most companies struggle a little bit where they should get started with sustainability, because it's such a big topic. So how do you slice this big elephant down? How do you get started, right? And
it's true.
It's a collaboration game, not only between buyer supplier, but also between industries and between competing companies, right? To drive new standards. But luckily we have also legislation kicking in now with the Lieferantengesetz here in Germany. So I mean, these things are really great to force companies to change and to account for for what they're doing in that space.
Yeah, you're right. Some of the barriers that they talk about in this article is access to supplier data, confidence in vendors' ability, and lack of detailed guidance. And so it'll be interesting to hear what some of those leaders at your event talks about. All right, we are almost at the end, so I want to let everybody know where we're going to be. We've got Go Freight happening on Thursday, Hope White going live on Friday. Next Monday through Wednesday, I'm going to be at the Inland Distribution Conference in Chicago. And then next Thursday, we are going live with Logword about digital transformation. Then on October 11th and 12th, I'm going to be in Amsterdam for Digital Procurement World. After that, I'm going to be at the NMFTA Digital Solutions Conference, and then Bloom Envision November 5th through 7th. This is bringing some of the top level supply chain leaders together to talk about the future of the industry. And then in November, I'm going to be at the Woman in Supply Chain Forum. If you haven't gotten your tickets, make sure to get your tickets to all of these amazing events. And I cannot wait to see you there. Matthias, I will be seeing you in person in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thanks everybody for being in the audience.
Thanks for having me. Safe travels. Bye.